Good morning. It's a lovely sunny morning this morning, so I've had to put my blinds down, I'm afraid. So I hope there's enough light to be able to work with. Good morning to Carol. Nice to see you, Carol. I hope you're keeping well and that you're not working too hard. Well, I know you work too hard anyway, but I hope you're not overdoing it. Morning to Jill, morning to Tracy, Jeanette. So this week I thought I would concentrate on our Stamparatus, on what it can do and how you can use it to its best effect. Now, some of you will already have a Stamparatus, and some of you may have never actually seen this product. So it has been around with Stampin' Up for a little while. Morning, Tracy. Oh, jolly good, Carol. Glad to hear that. So the Stamparatus is a stamp positioning tool that basically helps you stamp accurate and precise images or text. Hi Baz. And you can buy the Stamparatus through me or through your local Stampin' Up demonstrator. And let me just talk about the components that you get. Hello Brenda. So let me make sure I've got all the bits and pieces. I have multiple Stamparatuses, so I'm just making sure I haven't got too many bits that will confuse you. So this is the base plate of the Stamparatus. Let me put that in the centre. And it's a strong piece of plastic, for want of a better description, but it's a heavy, very heavy, thick coated plastic, and it has a grid on the bottom, and it has these two hinges on either side. And you can ignore the bits where I put tape on, because what I've done is I've used these to mark where I need to put my card. But normally when you get it, it doesn't have this on it. It has this grid which has centimetres and inches. And the size of the Stamparatus is just over 7 inches on the plate. Okay, so that the markings go up to 7 inches on either side, which is just under 18 centimetres. So obviously you can easily get a 6x6 piece of card in. You can actually get larger pieces of card in, which is why these pieces are open, so that you can stamp right into the corner, for example, of an A4 or even a 12x12 piece of card. Morning Julie, morning Jacqueline. It comes with 2 plates. Now, because I have so many, I have labels in there that say set 1, just so I know that that's a complete set together. And these plates sit, if I can show you here, they sit in the hinge position. It's quite difficult to show you when it's when you're straight over, but hopefully you can see this motion. So the plate comes over and pushes down like so. And this plate is reversible, so that you can take it out. I'm just going to move that out of the way of the camera. Turn it round and put it back again. So this means that you can have stamps on one side and on the other side. And because we have 2 hinges, you can decide which way round you want these to go. But more importantly, you can operate both of them like this, so that you could actually do 2 layers of stamping without having to turn the plate round. Or if you turn the plate round, you can have 4 layers of stamping. This will be a little bit more obvious in a minute for those of you that haven't seen it. So this is perfect for rubber stamps. If you have the see-through photopolymer stamps, obviously they're not very deep, and so what we do have is a foam mat that you can put in, and then you can stamp onto that. So you would normally have your card, for example, in the corner. If you've never seen the Stamparatus, this will become obvious, I promise. So you can put that in the corner, and then you can ink your stamp and stamp it down. What Stampin' Up brought out was, as an addition, was the foam mat, but with the grid on it. So if you then wanted to position something more accurately, I'm just following this line here, for example, then you've got the foam and the grid. Okay, that's an optional extra. And they also brought out, which you've seen me use, is the grid paper. So this is our small grid paper. If I just take a sheet here, and often I use it under my stamping. This is a double-sided grid paper, so it has centimetres on one side and imperial inches on the other. And the grid paper can go in there to save your plate. You can have it on top of the mat, or you can have it on top of the foam mat with the grid. That's just to stop this grid getting marked or anything. Okay, so let me show you the basis of how it works. Very straightforward. I'm going to start with this set here called Above the Clouds. So this, as you can see, features hot air balloons, and one of the benefits of using the Stamparatus, even if I just take a very simple stamp, this one here. Okay, so what you do is decide where you want your stamp on your card. So I'm going to have mine here. And you can choose which way to have your plate running, really depending on your space as much as anything. So if you've got more space left to right, then use the side. And if you're left-handed or right-handed, that doesn't matter, because you can just turn the whole thing round so you're on the other side, if that makes any sense. So I'm just going to put that there and have my plate over here to the right-hand side. Now it's mostly see-through, so I'm sorry you won't see very much. But, so just in its basic form, if you're stamping, very often, especially when you start, the stamp that you use doesn't always stamp fully. If you haven't got very good dexterity, or you're a bit nervous about stamping, very often what can happen is that you don't stamp 100% correctly. Now, one thing that the Stamparatus comes with are two strong magnets, which come separately, but they fit in these little gaps across the bottom. Now, those magnets are very, very strong. If you have a pacemaker, you don't want to be cuddling the magnets, okay, because they could cause you some issues. Now, what I'm looking for are my magnets. Now, that comes with two. You really only need one most of the time. And what I've done is I've actually wrapped my magnet. If I drop it, you can see how strong it is. I've actually wrapped it in some duct tape, because it is really strong, and you don't want it to you don't want two of them to click together. Also, it'll attach itself to anything metallic. So what I'm going to do is put this on the corner, and that just holds the card in place. If I move it, it's not going anywhere. So just to start with, I'm just going to put an ink pad under here, because you want this plate nice and flat. If I just ink up part of this stamp, this is one of the main benefits when you start stamping. So what I've done is I've inked up my balloon stamp, not particularly well, deliberately, she says. Now if I push that down, okay, can you see where I haven't inked it? It's obviously faded out. So the good thing is, because that is in the same position and I haven't moved anything, I can now go back in, re-ink my balloon, and I tend to ink the whole thing, but you could just re-ink the bit that was, you know, approximately missing. And then bring that back over, and then you can press this down. Now you can be really quite strong with this. Okay, and remember I have got the foam mat underneath because I'm using clear stamps. Okay, so now when I pick that back up, that's in exactly the right position. Okay, so just for basic stamping, if you struggle getting a really good image, then basically what you're doing is using this as your ink, as your stamp block. And because this is in the same place, okay, then you can get a really good image. So now what I want to do is do the little basket, and it is quite a tiny stamp. Here it is, it's very tiny. So what I can do is position my basket on my printed stamped image. Now I know that that's going to collide with that stamp, so I'm going to turn this over, so I'm now working on the other side of the plate. Okay, now if I push that down to pick up the stamp, I can ink this one up like so and push it down, and I've got the perfect image here. Now the good thing is, because those stay in the same position, I can now carry on with another card. So if I wanted to, I could put another card in. Just going to put my magnet on to hold it in place. And because in this case I'm actually stamping the same ink colour, I can literally stamp it, turn this over. So for this particular image, it doesn't matter what order I'm stamping. So I can ink this up. Obviously I can change colours if I wanted to. And there we go. Sorry, my hands are right in the way. Okay, so now I've got 2 cards with the image in the same place, perfectly stamped. I can't quite read your message, sorry Alison. Can I see what the gadget... It's right under my phone. Can you break your sentence into 2 pieces? I can see what the gadget, and then called Stamparatus, if that's what you're looking for, the name of the gadget, Stamparatus. If that's what the question is, I'm sorry if it isn't. So you could just carry on there, stamping all of your cards. Oh, thank you, Baz. So yes, it's the Stamparatus. It's in the current catalogue. Let me get you the page number. And it's in the new catalogue, obviously. Stamparatus and accessories, 184 to 185 of this main catalogue. Thank you. So, one of the other benefits of using this is if you struggle inking up stamps and getting it onto the block, and then the ink from the block goes onto your card, then this can save you a lot of trouble. So I'm just going to turn this one over, and if I had, let me find a darker ink. Okay, so sorry, this is just sort of the basics of it. I will get on to doing some things. The folder. Oh, so this is the plate. The plate comes with it. You get 2 plates. And I've got the grid. Okay, Linda, thank you. So, let me just show you something. Yeah, so it comes with 2 plates and it comes with a foam pad. Not this particular one. This is an extra one. So, if typically you take your ink pad and I need a darker one because you won't be able to see that. Sorry. It's difficult to sort of force yourself to do something wrong. So very often when you're inking up, that's perfect. When you're inking up on a block, it's very easy to get the ink on the edges of the block. And then when you push it down, that ink gets transferred, and often you'll get an extra sort of ghost mark, or you'll get something else on your card just where you don't want it. So I hope you can see here, let me put that underneath there, so that I've got a huge splodge of garden green ink here, as well as being on my balloon. But if I now transfer this across, because I'm only pressing here where the balloon is, I'm not pressing where the ink is. Can you see? It's only inked that little bit up. The ink is still here. Okay, let's put a little bit more pressure at the bottom. There we go. So it solves that problem of getting ink on your block and then transferring it, because you're not handling that, which I know is one of the questions you had, Alison, about, you know, how not to get inky. And one of the typical ways is you press your stamp too hard into your block, not you personally, but one, and then when you turn it over, you press too hard, you get ink on your hands and everything. So what I would recommend you have is a cloth near at hand, so that you can wipe the surface, especially if you're turning this over, because if I now wanted the green basket and I turn that over, okay, I've got the green basket, but that ink is still on the back. Okay, so I'm just going to grab my cloth and clean it off. So when you're moving the plates, you want it vertical. Hi, Nikki. To lift the plates in and out, rather than trying to do it at an angle, because they're designed to slot in and then rotate. So let me just get my cloth. Sorry, I had to go and dampen it because it's dried out in the sun. Do apologise. So I can just wipe this down, wipe my stamp. Okay, and if it's very wet, just use a lint-free cloth to dry it off. So now if I wanted to, I could go and add that basket in. Let's just do it in a different colour just to show you. So if you do struggle with stamping in the right place or getting ink everywhere, I moved that a little bit, I think. Yes, there we go. So there's my basket. I didn't put my magnet back on, and it was just slightly low. So that's one of the basic uses of the Stamparatus, is to stamp accurately, giving the option to re-ink it and start again. Now, I was going to say, the clear stamps are obviously a lot easier to see through and stamp, but you can do exactly the same thing obviously with the red rubber, because they're much harder to see. So I'm just going to show you that. Let me put my balloon back. Let's just find You can never find something when you want it, can you? So this one here is the perfect example. So this ornate style stamp, which is one that I've used for my class in the box this month, features this really big image, and that can be quite difficult if you struggle with larger stamps especially. So what I'm going to do is just put another piece of card in here, pop my magnet on, just hold it into place. I'm just going to position that there, or else it can go anywhere. And I do need to get rid of that mat because that's too high, so it didn't sit down flat. So I've just taken the mat off, so I've got the basic Stamparatus as it comes. Stamparatus, it has 2 plates, magnet. So just pressing that down. So I've got the stamp here. And now if I just want to ink it up in, for example, garden green, just so that you can see it. So I'm going to do the same thing, not ink it particularly well, and stamp it. Okay, so can you see here it's a little bit patchy. There's a tiny bit there missing. So what I can do now is go back over, ink it up. Remember, this hasn't moved and it's got the magnet on it, so I know that's in the same place. Now, if you didn't have this and you were trying to position that, you could be lucky. Oh, sorry, the cat's joining us. Let me let him out the window. There we go. I'm hoping he'll stay up there and not join us again. There we go. So now we've got an exact stamp exactly where we want it, nice and crisp. Okay, so let's step that up a little bit more. Let me just move this and show you how you can use it for 2-step stamping, and let's actually make a card this time rather than just play around. Now I've just knocked my tiny little basket stamp onto the floor. I'm hoping I'll be able to find it. Let me see. I felt it go. I'll have a look in a minute, but we can still do the sample without it. So this time what I want to do is use this infill to my balloon. Okay, so we're going to get that balloon back out again. Let's pop a piece of card down, like so. And this time, because it is photopolymer, I'm going to use my foam pad, because obviously the height of this is designed for the red rubber. So by adding the foam pad, it just narrows that height for us. And I'm using it right to left, but you could honestly use it any which way you want. And there's lots of techniques with these as well, by the way. So that's what I'll be doing this week, is some different techniques. So today is just basic using the Stamparatus. So if, for example, I want a balloon here, and I'm just looking at this because I want to use the other little balloons as well. I just want to get a position for those. So I'm actually going to have those up in the corner. So Tracy, you get the thin foam pad as part of the pack, but you can opt to purchase the foam mat with the grid on. So you can use that with a piece of paper. Grid paper is absolutely fine. But I prefer to use a slightly thicker one with the markings on it, because then you've got a bit more flexibility. I'll run through the pricing in a little bit. Okay, so I'm just working out roughly where I want those balloons to go. Okay, positioning them face down, and then I use the plate to come over to pick those up. Okay, now very often they will stick, especially if they're photopolymer, to your piece of paper to start with, because they have like a sticky. Apologies for that, somebody's just messaged me, just waiting on some news, unfortunately. So there we are, that's up in the corner, and I positioned my balloons like so, and then what I'm going to do is add the infill to the balloons. So this is normally what we would call two-step stamping, where there are 2 steps to finish your design. So I'm going to stamp that in black, and then I'm going to do an infill. So let me ink this up, and I'm going to do the infill in 2 different colours, just to show you how you could utilise that. Now, the Stamparatus plates, you can buy extra plates at the moment. The extra plates aren't being carried over into the new catalogue. I'm not quite sure why. And I find extra plates really useful, because you can, if you're doing a complicated image, you can just have the extra plates all ready and then just use them rather than keep taking off some of your stamps. Okay, so those are my balloons. So I'm going to take that off, just wipe that away. And now what I'm going to do is have the infill, and I'm going to do them in different colours. So this balloon I'm going to infill in one colour. Let me find the stamp set, would be good, wouldn't it? Okay, just making sure that is clean. So all I'm going to do, because this is see-through obviously, I'm going to position that over my stamped image. I'm hoping I've got that right, because I've got the camera in between me. So I've turned this plate over, and now I can pick up that balloon. Just position this back again. Okay, now I can ink up this with a coloured ink, so I'm going to use Daffodil Delight, and then I'm going to do these 3 in a different colour. So I'm just inking up the full stamp with Daffodil Delight ink. Now what you can do, of course, is use 2 colours to ink this up if you wanted to, by using a sponge dauber. So all the things that you would usually do on a stamp, you can do in the same way. So I'm going to position that down, nice amount of pressure. Remember, if you haven't done it enough, you can go back and stamp it again. And then we've got a complete infill in the right place. Okay, now I'm going to add my other plate. And the plates are no different. So, you know, although I've named them set 1 and set 2, that's only so I know I've got all my all my plates back. So they're completely interchangeable. Yes, I've ordered some extra ones, and actually the extra plates are on offer at the moment. So that is, I would definitely stock up, even if you don't use them. Sod's Law says one of them will go missing, or somebody will stand on it, or something crazy. So I'd always rather have spares. So I've done this one here. So now I'm going to take the other infill balloons, which is here. I'm going to position them. That doesn't look very clean, does it? Let me just wipe that down. Let's just dry that off. So in the same way, I'm just going to position those, placing the stamp face down onto the balloon images. Okay, bring my plate over. So this one I positioned up at the top. Okay, and pressed it down. Alright, just make sure that's back up in the corner. Now I can ink that with a different colour. Let's go for Seaside Spray. No, I'm going to have Pool Party. So I'm just using that to keep that nice and flat. I treated myself to a couple of new ink pads. Some of my old ones were in the old style, and I keep 2 of everything, so I thought I'd treat myself. Okay, so now I can just pop that in like so, added pressure, and there I've got my balloons coloured in. Oh, let me see, Carol. Let me have a look. I haven't checked that they're still in stock, I have to say, this morning. So the extra plates are here, £5.60 for 2, 149 700. And I'll go through the other items. You can, for example, also buy extra magnets and the grid paper, a replacement mat, or the deluxe mat. I know you can't see that in detail, but I'll cover those when we're done. So the good thing about that now is I could add a sentiment in. And obviously, you know, you could do this for one card. But if you're doing multiples, it's obviously even better. So the benefit of doing it even for one card is that once you've got it set up, if you make a mistake, you can just redo another sample. So if I want a sentiment in there now, let's just take this one here. Let me see what I've got. Let your dreams soar. Let's put that down here, and I've got to go and find that basket in a minute. So I've turned my plate over. Oh, thank you. Oh, thanks, Alexis. Brilliant. So the plates, the extra plates are in stock, £5.60. So I would recommend you stock up. I will be ordering today. If anybody wants extra plates, they can add that to my order. So I definitely recommend that. And obviously, if you haven't got a Stamparatus, then you're welcome to purchase that too. So I've got my sentiment, and I appreciate you can't see that right up on the top as I ink it. But I will just ink it up. Thank you, Alexis. I would definitely recommend the spare set. Just gives you a bit more flexibility, really. And you can use it, you know, for other things. You can use it for mixing inks on, because it's a slick surface. You can use it for stamping background stamps. There we go. Okay, so the good thing is all of those are ready. So I could now go away. I could just take the plates off, leave them here, come back even in a week's time, and know that everything is positioned, ready to stamp another card. So let me have a quick route around, see if I can find my little basket. It is a tiny stamp. Let me have a quick look. Yes, I found it on my carpet. So I'm just going to finish this one off. So I'm just going to position that on there. Now even the basket has an infill, so you could, if you wanted to, add that. Now what I would probably do is add that on a separate plate, or I could add it to the plate that's got the sentiment on if I was going to do it in black. Okay, so I couldn't add it on the plate with the big balloon outline because the two stamps obviously can't overlap. So what I could do is add it to this one here. It's probably got carpet fluff on. So the nice thing about photopolymer stamps is if they do get if they do dry out slightly, you can rinse them in washing up liquid and let them dry, and they'll go sticky again. We also have our stamp cleaning pad that you can use. That's also retiring, but that's really good. So stamp cleaning pads specifically for those, although it is retiring, it is on offer and you can buy the refills. So I'm just going to ink that one up and pop the basket on. There we go. There it is. Okay, so having got that set up, I can show you now how quickly it is to get another card like that. Obviously I've been setting up as I've been going along. Okay, and obviously if you're an accurate stamper, you could stamp that exactly as is. Okay, but the chances are something somewhere, especially as it builds up, could go wrong. The other thing I could add into there is some clouds, for example. And you can do all the masking techniques. So if I wanted another balloon behind this, as we've done some masking techniques recently, you could mask off this balloon and stamp another one behind it. So anything you would normally do with your stamps, you can still do on the Stamparatus. I would say the only exception to that, excuse me, is if you're doing a lot of stamping all over, then that's not practical to do on your Stamparatus. Hi Fiona. Because the angles keep changing and you want it to look natural. So, but if you want the same image over and over again, so perfect for invitations, perfect for getting out a whole series of birthday cards, for example, or perfect if you've got a lot of two-step stamps where you've got the outline, an inner, and maybe a detail. Oh, hi Ellen. So for example, this one here, Abstract Impressions, has the grass, it has the detail, and then it has the flower heads and then the flower detail. So this would be great to set it up, or this one here where you've got 3 flowers that all layer together. So you've got the background, a bit of detail, and then more detail on top. So, you know, and there's lots of other techniques. So my plan this week is to show you techniques with the Stamparatus, because there's lots of things you could do. Oh yeah, Brenda, it would be perfect for your thank you cards. It really would, with the Label Me Bold. So that's what we did the other day. And they would work perfectly because you could put the tiny little cards in. No problem at all. So let me just show you, having done the setup. So just take time to get the setup worked. You can actually do any of them in any order now if I wanted to. So just to show you that, I can start with the basket and the text. Sorry, I'm trying not to get my arm in the way. Obviously, if you had layering stamps, you may need to do these in a particular order. And can you see I've got ink on there? But it's not going to touch the plate. Whereas normally if you had ink on your block, it would go everywhere. So I've got that. Now I can do, for example, the outline of the balloons, all of the balloons together. So I'm just using Memento Black for this. But obviously, you know, you could be inking this up with whichever colour you wanted. So I'm doing both of those together, like so. And because nothing has moved and my card is always in that corner, I'm always going to get it in the same position. And if I wasn't happy with this little image, if I wanted a bit more ink on it, for example, I could just go back in, ink that little bit up and stamp it again. So really good if you struggle to get a good image. Let me just wipe that down. Now I can add my balloon. So this time I'm going to have a different colour. So my main balloon this time will be, let's be bold. Oh, hi Isabel. Garden green I'm going for. Just giving that a nice coating. There is a little bit of shading in that stamp, which you'll see. There we go. Oh yeah, that is a bit deep, isn't it? Hey ho, never mind. It will do the job. And then my little balloons infill, I'll do in the yellow. So this is just some of the basic things you can do with the Stamparatus. Hi Isabel, lovely to see you here this morning on a lovely sunny morning. So what I will be doing is showing you some other techniques with the Stamparatus for the rest of this week. So we have, oh, let's not do that. So I've got ink all the way over there, look. So we have some step stamping, we have stamping in the round, we have how to stamp sentiments onto die cuts. So if you've got lots of die cuts, oh that's okay Fiona, it'd be quite a brief thing anyway. So there we go. So 2 of those created in quick succession. Okay, exactly in the same place. You can vary the colours. Obviously you could have different sentiments and things like that. So there we go. And you could just carry on making those. So really good, as I say, for invites or where you need something over and over again. So that is the Stamparatus. Let me just talk you through it for those that missed the very beginning. Just going to wipe these down so I don't transfer ink everywhere. I'll leave those on there for the minute. So the Stamparatus, when you purchase it, I'll show you what it comes with. And let me find the page in the catalogue as well to show you. Which I can't remember. 18 something. 184. Okay. I know you can't see all of that. I do apologise. So the Stamparatus itself is £46. Okay. And it includes the base plate, which you've got here. Oh, jolly good, Joe. It includes 2 plates like this. Okay, 1, 2, and these are completely interchangeable. Okay, so it doesn't matter what side you use, which way round you use it. Okay, it comes with 2 plates. It has these 2 hinge areas, so you can turn this whichever way to suit you. So if you are left-handed, you may well have the hinge here on the right or on the left. It's entirely up to you. And if you've got space left to right, then obviously rotate that round according to your surface. It comes with 2 very strong magnets. I mean, literally, if I try and pick this up, as you can see, it's picking up the whole unit with it. So they're very strong. If you have a pacemaker, they have a magnetic pacemaker warning on them. So either only use one at a time or replace it with a slightly less strong magnet if you prefer. My magnet has got coffee cups on, and that's because I've added some tape to it. You can use washi tape if you want to mark a particular place where you want your card to go. It is the best positioning stamp tool on the market in our opinion. There are similar ones around, but they don't have necessarily 2 of these, or they have a fixed platform. And the fact that this area is open means you can do 12 by 12 card as well. So you get 2 magnets, the 2 plates, the base plate, and the foam mat. Okay, so that you can use them with red rubber stamps or with photopolymer stamps. Obviously you can't use them with wood block stamps because you can't attach the wood to the plates. So that base unit is £46, and then the accessories you can get. So you can buy a pack of this small grid paper which is designed to fit into the corner. It has centimetres on one side and inches on the other, like so, with the Stampin' Up logo. and you get a pack of 50 sheets of that for £6. Now obviously you can use them on the Stamparatus, but what's also useful if you have a small workspace is to use that just to work on. You'll have seen me using the grid paper. So the grid paper doesn't necessarily have to work with the Stamparatus, but that's what it was designed for. So the grid paper is £6. Replacement plates are on offer because they're retiring at £5.60 for both plates. Okay, and that just gives you more flexibility, simple as, rather than using all four sides. You can buy a replacement thin foam mat if you lose yours, and that's £2.75. Or you can buy the deluxe foam mat, which is what I would personally recommend, which is £5.50. So you use this with the photopolymer stamps because it's nice and thick. You can also use it as a mouse mat, or stamping on outside of the Stamparatus if you need a little bit of a soft area underneath. And that is £5.50, and it comes with the grid on top, and this is wipe clean. You can use permanent marker, which is what I've done on some of mine, to mark them out. And not only that, but you can buy the bag. If you like the coordinating look, you can buy a Stamparatus bag that it goes in. I have mine just here. So it's all branded Stampin' Up, as you would expect, and it opens right up. I know it's difficult to see actually from here, but you can put the Stamparatus in the centre, and then you have pockets here, Velcro. You've got outside pockets, and it's got handles like so, and then it's got a carrying handle as well. So that just protects if you go out and about. If you're just at home, then unless you like bags. Yes, I have to say I use extra plates all the time, Joe, exactly the same, and it just means you've got more flexibility really. So I would definitely recommend those. So that's all I wanted to cover for today, really, was just using the Stamparatus for some basic stamping to either help you stamping if you struggle with dexterity. They're great for the large background stamps in particular. Let me just show you that very quickly. So if you have a large background stamp, this is our crackle paint. It's larger than a card, or as large as a card, and obviously if you had that on a block, it's a big block that you have to hold. So what I used to recommend is that you put the stamp down, and then you'd ink it up, take your piece of card, place it on the stamp and press it over. And the only danger with that is you used to get covered in ink around the edges. But what you could do with the plate, and this is going to grab a spare plate for that purpose. Here, I'm just going to put this in the side. So if this was your card, for example, here I've written card, you could work out where you want your stamp to go. Put that in there roughly. Let's take the dimensional off. Okay. Press that down. So you've picked it up. And then it's ready to go. So I'll just ink that up so you can see. I'll do that in Daffodil Delight. So you're not picking up a huge stamp. Now this is where the grid paper comes in handy, but it's not the end of the world if you don't have it, just because this is going to ink up outside of where my card is. But as long as you wipe it off in between, it's fine. So good pressure, you can really press it hard, and then you've got the perfect crackle paint image, like so. your background, edge to edge. And then all you need to remember would be to wipe this down in between, like so. Take your next card, put it on. So this is where having a bit of tape or something is really useful. And then if you wanted a second generation crackle paint stamping, so a lighter version, just position it again. So I haven't re-inked it, like so. So just a really faint crackle on there. Okay, obviously if you wanted, you think actually no, that's a little bit too faint, you could go back in and ink it up. So there we go. So basics of the Stamparatus. So if you do struggle with stamping, I would highly recommend it. If you like to use big stamps or two-step stamps, even more so. But there's so many techniques you can do with this to make some stunning cards just from a few simple stamps. There we go. Miss that little bit there. So you can go back in. So I hope that's been useful. There we have it. So exactly the same, one side to the next. Okay, so that's all I wanted to cover today. It was just the basics of the Stamparatus. And tomorrow we will do some step stamping, which is where you want to, for example, stamp happy birthday all the way down a card, and instead of trying to line them up, let the Stamparatus do the work. Okay, so that's all I'm going to cover for today, otherwise I'll be keeping you far too long. So thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you, Carol. I'm glad it's been useful. As I say, the Stamparatus is available to order, and if you haven't got a demonstrator and you're based in the UK, more than happy to help you place an order for that. Just message me or comment after here. Yes, everybody likes theirs, don't they, Jill? I don't know anybody who's bought one and, you could almost use that almost exclusively without blocks and things. As I say, the only exception is if you're doing fine stamping to all over. So tomorrow's time for this is 3 PM. So Tuesday at 3, Wednesday at 10, Thursday and Friday at 3. Okay, thank you. I'm glad it was useful. I do apologise for those of you who may have already got one and know exactly what they're doing. So thank you for joining me if that is the case and putting up with me repeating something you probably already know. If you do have one, I do recommend grab the spare plates while they're on offer at £5.60. As I say, you could even just use it for putting ink refills on, for stamping, different techniques. Yeah, definitely well worth it just for that. Okay, thanks so much everybody. I hope you have a good afternoon. Thank you for joining me. Stay safe, look after each other, look after yourselves. Stay at home unless you're working, in which case thank you. And I look forward to seeing you soon. Happy crafting. Bye bye.